purpose of this video is to fabricate a burner for your forge, which is quicker, cheaper, easier than most of the YouTube videos that I've watched. Why is it quicker? Because we got one component that incorporates most of the hard to find equipment that the YouTube videos have you chasing around town for. This is a Harbor Freight weed burner. Sells for about $20. There's another model, $10 more, with an electronic igniter that you really don't need. We're not going to destroy this. We're just going to use parts of it and modify it. Why is it quicker? Because you're not running all over town looking for some hard to find parts. Like the adapter that goes into the propane tank, the hose, the needle valve, which some of the people use a pressure regulator, and the orifice. Why is it easier? Well, because here you have all those parts assembled for you. And why is it cheaper? Because Harbor Freight sells this item for, like I say, about $20. We're going to begin with removing the burner part. Now, I've already loosened this, so it ought to be easy. Except it's coming out at the wrong place. Here we go. To remove the burner part and the orifice, set it aside. The orifice is what we're going to use most, so we will also set the rest of the unit aside and begin. The next step in the process is to gather up the parts which are easily obtained at plumbing supply and hardware stores. We're going to start out with the same orifice that we removed from the weed burner. What you're going to need from a plumbing supply store is 1¼ to 3/4 inch reducer. This is black iron pipe. Galvanized could be used here. This is a 10-inch long, 3/4 inch nipple, again in black iron. The reason for black iron is because it's going to become hot, and will give off fumes from the galvanized process. The third item from a plumbing supply store is a 1 to 3/4 inch reducer. In this case, it's going to become a grower, but we won't talk about that. Some of the videos say this needs to be stainless steel. I'm thinking black iron's going to outlast whatever purposes I'm going to need. Another thing some people do is clean out the inside of the threads that are in there, because what this is going to become is a sort of a nozzle for the flames. I'll reserve judgment on that till later, in the interest of simplicity of this particular item. Here we have an assembly that consists of a 1/4-20 screw, 2 washers, 2 nuts, and a piece of coat hanger wire which has been bent around a 1/4 inch bolt. These are all different lengths, and they'll be cut to the required length as we go along. And a hose clamp. Now the purpose of these is stability, because when we mount the orifice in the bell nozzle, like so, it's going to be held in place with the 1/4 bolts. This is going to become a weak point in the system, and somewhere along the line I'm going to grab a hot piece and drop it. So I would like to gain some support. So what I'm going to do is then take the coat hanger wires in 3 places and attach them to the handle, the tube of the weed burner. You'll see that as we go along. As I said, these 3 screws are going to go through here to hold the orifice. It's a hex nut, so we're going to hit it in 3 different places. This will become the weak spot, so we're going to reinforce it as we go along. One of the hardest things in the whole process is going to be to drill and tap our little bell nozzle for the 1/4 bolts. And to do that, we're going to make 3 flats 120 degrees apart. You can do that with a grinder, a file, or I'll be using my mill to do it. The inlet bell has been drilled and tapped to 1/4 in 3 places around the circumference to accommodate the hexagonal shape of the orifice. That orifice is 55 thousandths. Now I've seen videos where they've used up to 1/8 of an inch hole. That's 125 thousandths, and down to 30 thousandths. We'll see what happens. Also, I've assembled our 3 holders for the orifice, which also hold the support length of the coat hanger wires that we fabricated. I've cut them off to 4 inches long to meet up with the crook that is already in the weed burner. The assembly consists of course, the 1/4 bolt. This one's 1 3/4 inches long. 1 1/4 inches would be adequate. These were left over from another project. So we have a nut, a washer, our prefabricated coat hanger wire, now cut to 4 inches, another washer, and a nut that will act as a jam nut to secure the orifice in place and ensure that it's not going to work loose. Got all 3 of them there, and now we're ready to assemble the thing. I'm going to use the desk as a place to keep the orifice steady while I assemble it. Now, I'm trying to eyeball the orifice in the center. hold the camera, screw the screws down, everything at once. It's not working well, is it? I don't know. That's a little too far. Anyway, you got the idea. And now Alright, I think I've got the orifice pretty well centered. Tightening the jam nuts in place. And now we'll just finger tight the coat hanger supports. They, of course, go out this way. Now we can tighten them all the way. Bend them down. Like so. Now we're going to straighten them out and just put a little crook on the end of them so that the hose clamp that goes around them doesn't have a tendency to slide in either direction. And here we have the assembly ready to go into the weed burner. Now I've condensed a lot of steps and just described what I did, because I figure that anybody that's far enough along that they want to do some blacksmithing also knows his way around the workshop well enough to do those steps himself or herself without any additional help from me. Probably have a better way of doing it anyway. Yeah, I can take a lot more on that joint than I thought. Okay, so now comes the hose clamp. There we go. The hose clamp's been tightened. The support wires are all in place. They've been tightened down. It is quite a rigid little assembly, so we got that part made. I will be wrapping some duct tape around here to keep from getting snagged on the sharp edges. And the proof of the pudding is in firing up the burner and seeing if it will work. Pardon my pessimism. I said see if it works. How about see how well it works? I believe that's quite a flame right there, and I think it'll do what I want it to do. End of video, I guess. Exit stage left.